Hey friends, welcome back to the Renewed Homestead. I am here with Billy, and this is not, well, Billy from Pasture Farm, of course, if you didn't know, but this is unscripted. Usually when we talk about doing a video, I'll kind of clue him in. It's like, hey, I've got a couple questions for you. I'm going to hit him blindside with this one, but I think this is a good thought-provoking question. Now, we survived Hurricane Helene and the issues, and we both know that our communications needs some touch-up work.
Sure.
That's not what this is about. The other thing is electricity. Now, those of you that believe or don't believe, you know our poles are shifting. The Earth's poles are shifting. And as they shift, our electromagnetic fields are flexing. So we are getting more solar, not discharge, but I'm not sure what the right term is, solar flaring. So there's more electrical currents hitting the earth. Well, back in 1859, the Carrington event.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was a M-class solar flare that hit the earth. And they're saying now with our weakened fields, if we got one of those now, it would knock out a lot of our electricity. Back during the Carrington event, we were using
telegraphs.
Telegraphs, and it actually ran electrical currents to the telegraph poles and set fire to some of those stations. Well, if this happened today, our cell phones would be out. Probably our houses would be out. Our whole solar grid, our whole electrical grid could potentially be gone. Well, you and I have done some preparing. We've got solar charged generators, so we would have electricity. Protecting those is where I'm going with this. How are we going to protect them? Because I know you can build a Faraday cage and you can put electronics in there and it'll protect it. I know some people, just throw your cell phone in a microwave and it would protect it from any kind of problem. Now, I know you like EMP Shield for protecting your house and your car, a great product, but if you've got a solar generator and it's not plugged in, is that going to protect it?
No, you're the only thing left to do in a situation like that where you have a solar generator, you're going to want it in a Faraday cage. Now, to be a Faraday cage, it could be a number of things. Some people would suggest, and nobody really, this is the troublesome part because nobody has the exact recipe down, but generally it's believed that if you could take your solar generator and maybe put it in a steel container,
right,
and it could be a travel container or one of those things where something like a steel container, and then you had that container grounded, and then you were able to they do make I don't know who the company is, but they basically make this static-free film that you can cover it up with. Potentially that could work, but yeah, if you did have something similar to a Carrington event, the only thing left to do is go to your neighbor, go through his pocket, and look for loose change. Because, no, in a situation like that, because it's legit, because if you read books like 1 Second After, William Forstchen, the guy that wrote that book, did actuaries since then and said, look, okay, if this sort of thing were to happen right now, how many people would succumb and how quickly? Well, basically 90%, according to his numbers, 90% of the people involved in it would be gone in 30 days, 90%. Now, we live in a hurry society where we expect things right now, just-in-time delivery, things like that. Well, 90% gone in 30 days. If you can withstand 90 days, then you're probably pretty good to go. But regarding your question, the only way that I know of, if it were that bad, because it would potentially fry your phone, which is in your pocket, I wouldn't cry over that.
Right.
But all your components, think about it, for the cost of one B-2 bomber, you could secure the entire grid in America. You could, for the cost of one B-2 bomber, you could secure the entire grid, and still nothing's been done. So in those cases, I'll have to do more research on it, but at the end of the day, when you get down to brass tacks on how to secure those things and keep them safe, you just gave me something to think about, because honestly, I'm thinking a non-static shield, and if it were sitting in you can't, it's not like this thing is small enough that you could stick it in a 55-gallon drum or something like that, which is the typical way of doing it. Yeah. So I'd have to do a little bit of research on that.
Now, see, that See, these are the kind of conversations we have because it's like, you know, what if that growing up that you and your friends, you played the what if. So we do a lot of that now.
What if Superman fought Mighty Mouse?
Oh, ooh, that's a good
who would
one.
win? Yeah.
Oh,
You know.
Mighty
Now,
Mouse.
question, would our root cellar, because it is steel,
That's where I was going to go.
Your root cellar would be probably the perfect place.
Well, the moisture though is my concern. So what I thought, and let me tell you, if you haven't seen our video, we have a gas tank from a service station. It's 8 feet tall, 16 feet long, all steel, and we cut a door in it, and it's buried. But there is moisture in there, so that would be a problem. But my thought on that was
a very old ventilated gas tank.
very, very old. Anyway, but it's threw me off. Anyway, my thought was, well, if we got it in maybe like you said, maybe one of those plastic 55-gallon drums, put in either like
Desiccant packets.
or bag of kitty litter or whatever, and sealed it, would it protect it, and then it wouldn't be touching the steel?
That would probably, of all the scenarios out there, you guys are probably best set up for any extra electronics. I didn't even think about that, but honestly, that would be the perfect vessel, I would think, theoretically, to be in. If you were to take that thing, stick it inside another vessel, seal it up, put desiccant packets in there, or kitty litter. There's any number of ways you could go about it. That would almost certainly do the trick.
Yeah.
That would almost certainly do the trick. And plus, it's underground already, so
Right.
I mean that helps.
Yeah. Now I know you all don't have gas tanks buried in your in your yard. Now I've heard of people taking like a chest freezer, and see the key. You'd have to do some research on your Faraday cages, but what I understand is it's got to be a sealed metal box. And I've seen people then they take their radios or whatever they're putting, and put cardboard around it so that cannot touch the steel. To protect it that way. I guess the steel absorbs whatever the shock is, but like
At the end of the day, it's all theoretical,
Right.
Because nobody's really doing any real testing on this sort of thing.
Right.
And then you're going to want that steel seriously grounded, and you're already there in what you have. So yeah, that would be a perfect way of going about it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to help others. I figured that's something people maybe haven't thought about. As far as the phones go, if we get to that stage, those phones aren't going to work anyway. Even if your phone's still working, the satellites are going to be fried.
Well, remember the whole grid's down.
Right.
I mean, everything's down. So that's where, and then even if you have something like that, you got to be thinking about, okay, let's say you did everything right. Let's say your Faraday cage worked. Well, the last thing you want to do, and the number one way in which people are going to be compromised, is when you've got power on and you're not having any light discipline. When you turn your power on and your neighbors or anybody can see you, just remember how much better your sensors are when you've been in the dark for a while. Now, all of a sudden, you're the only person and you're being careless with how you're distributing your electricity. You got power there, you just made yourself a beacon. So it's a double-edged sword. So even if you're the only one with power, you got to be very, very cautious about your light discipline.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's why we've got candles, and we do have some small solar lights that we can light up, and then we have a little bit of light, creature comforts when the power's out. We just lived through it with the hurricane. Oh man, I was going somewhere with that one. But
Light discipline.
yeah, the light discipline that just, I don't know, I lost it. Anyway, it's just something we were thinking about. We try to like you, we try to make it relatable to people, things that they can do, things they need to think about. I just know that was something that came to mind. It's like, well, how do we protect this? We've invested in these solar generators, but if they're fried, I mean, that was it. Our primary focus, we're not worried about light. We're not worried about any of that. We want our coffee in the morning.
Okay, the real important stuff.
Right.
No,
Right.
I mean, that's of all the things out there, coffee's a big deal I just got myself off of coffee. I mean, not completely, but basically off of caffeinated coffee.
I know. We're still going to counseling about that.
I know. We're going to have to, we had to do an intervention in the first place
Yep.
to even get me to realize that I got a coffee problem. But yeah, I mean, it's little creature comforts like that make all the difference in the world. It really does in the survival situation. But you also have to be concerned in a situation like that also with, smell discipline. In the Army, we would call it SILS, SLLS, stop, look, listen, and smell. So anything where you can attract somebody else's senses, whether it's the light discipline or sound or, smell or anything like that, where it's, it's easy for people to identify, you want to be especially cautious about. And coffee is one of those things that does travel quite a bit. So you want to be,
I suppose that's
you
true.
want to be careful no matter the place. But really, I mean, this is a really good thing to consider because so many people have bought these solar generators and they're great. I mean, a lot of they're really great. And you got whole house solar generators, the whole 9 yards. But at the end of the day, if you have an EMP shield, that's going to be my best way of going about it.
Right.
But
if it's not plugged in, is it protected by the EMP shield?
see, that's one thing I got to check out.
Yeah.
If it's already tied into your system, you should be good.
Yeah.
If it's already hardwired to your system, but most people don't have it that way. It's going to be sitting in a place until you're ready for it.
That's us, yeah.
Right. So in my case, the EMP shield would protect it.
Yeah.
But
This is not a product endorsement, but EMP shield is cool.
yeah, $50 off with promo code PERMA.
There you go.
No, I mean, I had to put a gratuitous plug in there, but no.
Well, yeah.
If you don't have that, because they can be a little bit pricey too, but if you've already spent the money for certain things, you might want to consider how to protect it. I'm glad you brought this up because honestly, I've never given it a second thought because I rely on the EMP shield for all of my stuff. So I'm glad you brought that up. It was a good topic.
Yeah, well, there you go. All right, well, hope this was a blessing to you all and maybe you learned something. And if you didn't, give us a thumbs up anyway. But Billy, thank you. As always, I appreciate it.
Yep.
Take care, everybody. God bless. Bye.
Make it so.